Qpad Red Pandas. This is going to be another best of one to go in for this second preliminary match to decide who's moving forward in the tournament here. Completely different format, single elimination moving on forward. It's a point value for those that conclude each cup in, I think, in the top 4 positions, so we'll be seeing that specifically. But yeah, what we're looking at here is the draft between Virtus.pro and Qpad Red Pandas, and it's going to be an interesting match here. So jumping on into it, again, I myself am Blaze, joined here not by video but by audio. How's it going, Triumph?
Yes, unfortunately I don't have a camera for tonight. And as for why, well, sometimes I just like to pick my nose and nobody wants to see that. But here we go, some quick spans here. Virtus.pro going to knock off that Keeper Light Furion, as well as Wisp being picked up by Qpad. No real surprise there. Really don't want to leave Virtus.pro along with the Wisp. Batrider also being removed. But it looks like Virtus.pro Blaze are going to open up with that Lone Druid pick again. Get that push happening.
Yeah, a lot of potential there. If they can actually get that on the off lane specifically, that'll work a lot better for them. But of course, they are up against some tough picks here. The Lifesteal and Shadow Demon are great laners in general and can put out some pressure one way or another. But if the Lone Druid does work well on the off lane, if they're actually able to make it work in that regard, KSI loves to keep that active there and definitely can go for some high pressure push, as you mentioned, and that's going to be a very scary factor when the Lone Druid hits about 7 level 8. And meanwhile, Qpad are going to be a little more defensively, just trying to make sure they get the farm up as much as possible. I believe Sing Sing is playing the carry primarily now, but they switched it up a lot in the past couple weeks to try to make sure their roles are at their best.
I think it really depends on where they're going to put, well, who they're going to put on the lifesteal. I mean, it looks like they've got a stand in for Select tonight, but Qpad have a habit of picking a very gank-oriented hero. So something like the Night Stalker, the Nyx, or they might go for something like a Furion and a Nyx together. And I think we'll probably see them pick up some kind of mobility-based hero here to go with the Lifestealer, because of course Lifestealer plus something like a Puck or a Furion, it's really, really very scary, because of course Puck, if you leap in the middle of a group of enemies, get the Dream Coil down, get the Silence down, and suddenly there's a Lifesteal in the middle. It's like a fox in a hen house, just has so many options to tear into. But they will pick up that Nyx Assassin, so I'm pretty much guessing here we're going to see a lot of aggression being poured out from Qpad. They're going to try and put a lot of pressure on in the early game, which may or may not work against Virtus.pro. I mean, this is one of these things, Virtus.pro, and this is something a lot of the CIS teams, but they do favour those scrappy, those early fights, and they love to get stuck in early on, so this may backfire horribly in Qpad's face, because Virtus.pro, they are a very solid team, and you know, if you show weakness in these early fights, if you make a misstep, it's the kind of thing where you can get one wrongly placed stun, or walking out of position for an odd moment and getting stunned can pretty much lead to your demise. So we'll see how this works out for them.
Yeah, this will be pretty interesting how it plays on out. But they do have a lot of initiation potential on both sides. The Shadow Demon should be decent against the Bear, trying to lock it down with some Demonic Purge, and if he can't close the distance, that's going to be a pretty big factor. But you can say the same about Bane, his potential to enfeeble, Nightmare, Fiend's Grip, what have you on the Lifestealer, especially with the ultimate piercing right on through that Rage. So that's going to be a big factor, and of course Clockwork is generally the go-to hero to cage the beast and make sure the Lifestealer can't really stay on target by cogging in, and then it's going to be on Clockwork to make sure he farms up one of those 2 big items, either a Ghost Scepter or a Force Staff, so he doesn't just have to sit in there and tank up all that damage from Nyx. But either way, the band's coming on through now. We do see the Leshrac, which would synergize a little bit too well with the Shadow Demon, as well as a Darkseer band. This means that there are a couple of different possibilities as far as heroes that don't like to have the illusions made of them, because they rely on stats primarily. Along with that, it's a very, very powerful offlaner, which Qpad hasn't really selected as of yet, so a lot of scary things about the Darkseer, and they're not going to allow that to happen. But what do you think about Qpad's band? First the Weaver, and now the Chen. Kind of seems a little bit scattered. Do you have any thoughts behind that?
I'm not really sure about the Chen ban at all. I don't think Virtus.pro don't really to make huge use of that, as well as the fact they've already got the Lone Druid in there, which may wind up in the jungle again, depending on how Qpad decide to run this, because, I mean, this is looking fairly similar to Virtus.pro's lineup from before. And Virtus.pro, I mean, the Bane pickup is no surprise. I mean, obviously they didn't have the Bane last game, but Kaipi and Virtus.pro, both of them love their Bane picks, so, I mean, obviously they didn't get their hands on it, so this may be their go-to lineup, but this is looking very, very familiar, so they may actually decide, you know what, let's just stick the Lone Druid in the jungle, and they may just rotate somebody away from the Lifestealer, depending where they decide to put the Lifestealer, because of course he could wind up in an offense try on something like the Shadow Demon, the Lifestealer. The Nyx may, he's got still a few options. They may decide to put the Nyx in a solo role. We'll see what they've got with him, but of course Nyx does get sort of put in that 4th spot as well in terms of farm priority. They may pick up, I mean, they could quite easily pick up something like a Lena to go with the Shadow Demon Lifesteal, and they could say, you know what, let's run this as an offensive tri lane to try and shut down something like Lone Druid's farm if he's going in that safe lane. or whatever Virtus Pro have in mind for that safe lane there.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the Magnus hasn't been picked up whatsoever, and now it's actually being banned out in the second stage, the final ban coming on through. It just really shows that they don't really care as much about that hero in this current draft. Usually when Select is playing for Qpad, it's one of their high priority heroes to get him on the board with that, or maybe have Sing Sing run it previously sometimes. But in this situation, they are running a stand-in. Banshee is filling in for Select here, and so I guess Magnus isn't that big of a threat. Still taken off the board at the very end of it, but yeah, it's mostly just to make room for what they're going to go with this carry gyrocopter. Going to be presumably farming in the safe lane with the support of Bane and possibly even Clockwork, unless Virtus Pro once again want to run that Clockwork as a solo, and the Lone Druid, of course, will definitely be looking for an opportunity to get some solo experience either in the jungle or the off lane. So their lanes are rather predictable, Clockwork being the only wild card there, and even then, not too hard to figure out what he's going to be doing with that. Meanwhile, the Qpad, they've set up their tri-lane, but now they're looking for these solos, which have, by and large, been banned out unless they want to run the Nyx as the mid. So do you think there's a really good pick that they could go against the Gyro, against the Lone Druid, and still come out on top late game?
I just love Lifesteal and Nakes as well as the Puck together. I don't know whether or not they've got a player who really wants to put that Puck to use. So, but Puck is a very, very dangerous hero. When you throw in those mobility heroes with the Lifesteal, they can cause a ton of damage. Because like I said, Qpad, they seem to favour that sort of ganking style just to get themselves on top. And we may actually see them go for a good, strong mobility mid, and then some kind of hero to farm the safe lane. We may see Lifestealer, Shadow Demon, and Nakes try and take an offensive role, take that mobility hero in the mid who can set up the ganks later, maybe some Lifestealer, and then the Windrunner. I mean, actually, I'm not sure where they're going with that Windrunner. That could actually wind up being a support Windrunner. We'll see what they've got in mind there. Or, I mean, they could actually be saying, you know what, let's put Windrunner on the offlane, because obviously they've got a stand in here, so they may be playing things a little bit differently. So, I mean, Windrunner could take the offlane and then take a safe tri-lane with the Lifestealer, and then have the Nyx, just farm the jungle for a bit, just focus on stacking, pulling that sort of business, and then take a different hero there for their solo. I mean, Puck is still definitely a viable solo mid, I think, choice.
Yeah, at one point in time I have seen both Mini and Jerax run Windrunner themselves, so it's not the most common pickup for them to run it supportively, but it's definitely viable. It depends on really how they want that mid matchup to work out, specifically this Nyx Assassin. If they want to get him levels, they kind of go for a steamroll type play, or if they're happy for just using his disables in conjunction with the disruption to make sure they can get the maximum damage output. And from there, they still have a lot of potential. They can go aggressive tri-lane, defensive tri-lane, put pressure on the Lone Druid, put pressure on the Gyrocopter. Different options there, but Virtus Pro's lanes are very cut and dry. 100%, they're going to be sending the Gyrocopter, Lina, and Bane together in a tri-lane, the Lone Druid solo, and then the Clockwork is going to be in that solo mid. So KSI, he probably is going to be going on the offlane, still technically could go safe lane solo, whereas then they would have the Gyro, Lina, Bane as an aggressive try. But in this position, I expect KSI more just to go in the offlane and do as best he can to survive down in that suicide circumstance.
Well, the fact that they're throwing Wagamama, Qpad are throwing Wagamama to the Windrunner makes me think it's going to be an offlane Windrunner, and they're just going to have Nakes take the safe lane there. They're just going to try and buy some time, wait for Nakes to hit level 6, wait for Puck to hit level 6, and then I think they'll try and turn the pressure on after that, but we'll see what they have in mind. But Blaze, do you want to introduce the teams?
Yeah, starting off Qpad here, we have Wagamama just picking up a single Tango going on that Windrunner. We'll see where he ends up, but Sing Sing is going for a very aggressive last hitting build of no Talisman early. Not going to have a bottle for a while, but will control the CS very effectively on that mid lane. We are going to see Mini here on the Nyx Assassin. Supportive items already picked up, so you know where he's going, and along with that, Jerax has plenty of wards in tow on the Shadow Demon. Banshee is going to be that stand-in, carrying it up on the Lifestealer, and we'll see how he performs both in farm as well as, of course, just getting those right clicks out in the team fights. And looking over at Virtus Pro.
Yeah, we've got NS playing the Lina, we've got Illidan playing Gyrocopter, Kassan the Lone Druid, Tame My Wild there on Clockwork, and ars-art there on the Bane. So it looks like they're just probably, I get the feeling, they might actually end up playing very offensively with the Lina and the Bane again, but we'll see what they've got in mind. I'm just looking at Sing Sing's build there. Like you said, he's gone for the fairly aggressive last inning, but I think this is definitely perfectly viable, especially since he's got a good idea that he's likely to be up against that Clockwork there, and he can quite easily, he doesn't really have to worry about spamming out there. He just wants to sort of last hit and harass with that auto attack on a constant basis. Because, he'll be able to pick up that bottle by the 2-3 minute mark fairly easily anyway, just by being able to last hit more efficiently than the Clockwork can, just be able to harass for that distance as well with his range.
Yeah, the Spirit Bearer down on bottom from being controlled by KSI is going to try to go for some pulls here, but really the open wounds, the right-click harassment is coming down very, very quickly. Stone Shield is doing work, but it can only do so much, and yeah, having already taken this much damage, he's probably not going to be able to go for the creeps. If he goes for the creeps, the second he turns back around, he's going to take too much right-click damage, and he'll forfeit the bear's life entirely. So very unfortunate for KSI, just such good positioning, up on the high ground, ready to go, up against that bear, and forcing him back entirely, so KSI is forced to just farm up the Ancients very, very gradually, and obviously not the situation he wants to be in, because now Qpad has control of the lane. They have the pull unblocked, they have a ward up to completely zone out the lone druid, and they're just going to be able to control the creep equilibrium safe and sound right near their tier 1 so that the lone druid can't get a bit of experience from the lane.
I get the feeling KSI may even just say screw this and head over to the jungle once again. Tries to go for the stack. Unfortunately, doesn't manage to get the pull off. Something went wrong there. I think he's only managed to stack it. Yeah, he's only managed to stack it once there, so it looks like something went wrong with the pull. He did go for that pull. He got the pull there at 30 seconds, went for the stack there again. Didn't really... Actually, no, wait. What am I saying? I'm retarded.
Yeah, I'm confused. It is 1 minute.
I'm counting ahead. 1.5 minutes too early. It doesn't matter. Meanwhile, it looks like we're going to have Puck there in the mid lane. Just going to cop a bit of damage there, but this is what I mean. He should be just fine to get that bottle fairly soon. He's already halfway there, so he'll have that up fairly soon, and he can just last hit much more efficiently with that Null Talisman.
Early smoke coming out for Qpandas. They didn't want to pick it up when they first spawned, but now coming on through, they realized that with KSI being so well zoned out, they learned this situation is going to be well under control, and they decided, okay, well, if we're not going to be making much impact down here, then we might as well just start ganking, and that's what the smoke's all about. But Spirit Bear, being refreshed from the fountain, is going to try to go out and make an impact on the lane once more, but has to wait for the next creep set. That's going to be about 215, 210, somewhere in there. He's going to be connecting with the creeps and trying to pull them off the lane, trying to confuse the laning situation just a little bit there. But either way, he's going to move on around, get harassed a bit by the supports. Same thing with Wagamama up top, actually, just kind of moving around. Good movement from NS, getting a light strike away from the low ground, but not netting that much damage, as they only have the right clicks of the Lina herself, with Team W roaming as fast as he can, but without the boots, not really connecting. Meanwhile, that bear still being harassed down on bottom. A couple of shadow poisons on it just to make sure it will be dropped down with relative ease, but it at least did get that full creep pull, with only losing half of his HP. Open Wounds comes out, though, and the bear turns on around. This should be an easy kill for them. He's going to actually resummon in full, knowing that it was going to get dropped down, so... yeah, unfortunately for KSI, he's not going to be able to do what he wants to with those creeps, only getting one melee pulled out of the standard creep equilibrium.
You know, speaking of what's going wrong for KSI, I think we should just take a quick look at Wagamama. If things are going poorly for KSI, things are going horrendously for Wagamama. His creep, his ancient stack there is blocked, so there's nothing he can do about that. You see he's stuck at level 1, still 62 experience, and he's just got the problem with picking a hero like Windrunner for the offlane and not something like Darkseer is the fact that there just is no plan B for Windrunner. If something goes wrong like this and she gets forced to the lane, and then you find the ancients block like this, she doesn't have any options. Whereas if things really went horrendously for KSI, he could just say screw this and leave and go on jungle. He's always got that option open to him. Something like a Darkseer as well could also make that choice, whereas Windrunner, Wagamama, he's stuck here. I mean, pretty much he's got to wait and just hope he can find opportunities to throw out a few power shots to pick up, at the very least, just eke out this meager amount of experience. So we see he's picked up some boots that finally, so he might actually be able to outpace Selena here and just duck in back and forth, screwed him back and forth there looking for that experience. But it looks like, Blaze, we have a gank going mid, a bit of a smoke gank.
Yeah. Popping off that smoke coming on through. The disruption is going to be pretty much, if they land it, a guaranteed kill on Team W. Cogs are really, really strong defensively, but Puck, of course, is a ranged hero, and that orb being at rank 3, they're in a great position. They just have to kind of smoke it around. So going on the Dire side, through the river, and now right in against Team W. He was going for that top rune spawn. Unfortunately, possibly his own death. Pops off the Cogs, but Minnie's inside there, and there's all that magic damage, drawing the first blood. Sing Sing even gets the double damage rune on top of that, and huge amount of control going to Qpad as finally some action occurs down on that mid lane, and that smoke well worth it. Going underneath 2 observer wards, but still finding the opportunity to get that kill based on the invisibility.
I mean, just demonstrating the power of the smoke, of course. Unfortunately, Clockwork thought he was completely safe there, got caught up completely off guard. So he's up in the top lane. Wagamama copying a light strike away. Will manage to walk away, though, also going to get hit by a homing missile, but no big deal there as that Rocket's going to collect him. Lina, on the other hand, just going to nuke that stack of creeps down. There's also NS going to pick up some much-needed experience and gold just to keep himself on top of things. As KSI now just continuing to drop down here and continue to stack and just gradually chip away at these Ancients. This bear once again taking a ton of damage here.
Coming on in, Sing Sing, almost level 6, wants to go for the Dream Coil. He actually activates it. Mini coming on in. This is going to be a very aggressive dive here. Cogs coming off cooldown here, and this, unfortunately, the Impale will not connect. Mini just couldn't get the range on it despite the Dream Coil helping out. So TMW, safe under his tier 1, committing a bit of rotation for it, but they unfortunately will not get a second kill on him despite the perfect timing of that level 6.
Yeah, I mean, they saw it. I mean, they had to go for it, so might as well. He saw an opportunity, went for it, didn't work out, but you know what, no big loss there, and it will just make TMW just a little bit more cautious. I mean, he's always going to worry about those games coming out. I think that said, though, Mini could probably, and this is something that Mini does a lot, is they give him a lot of farm in the jungle comparatively to the other support, so he will just try and get that level up. Of course, if anybody's ever seen Mini spend his time playing Wisp, he does actually take a fair amount of time to farm, but it really does pay off once he gets those levels and items that he needs for that mid-game. Looks up in the top lane though.
Yeah, going to put some pressure out. Gyrocopter always can use that flat cannon to deliver some long-range harassment to the Windrunner. Very frustrating for Waga as he's just trying to survive. It looks like he's actually going for either a Mechanism or a Force Staff Rush with that Ring of Regen. Right now, just going to get some stability with Tranquil Boots, it looks like. And one way or another, the big thing here is just to try to survive as long as possible. We actually hear a hookshot on mid. Sing Sing is going to have to orb. No, it's on cooldown. He can phase, but it's just going to be taking so much damage. Magic Stick only helps so much. He will be able to jaunt away. The Rocket Flare not doing enough damage, so Sing Sing will survive. Meanwhile, on top, the flank comes in. Bane gets the Nightmare out there. There's going to be this Light Strike ready to connect, and the Barrage won't do that much damage, but the call down, the right click certainly will. And they can claim this tier 1 tower very, very quickly as they've taken out both the hero and the creep wave defending. And yeah, as a result, they'll be able to take out half this tower's HP with the next creep wave and put some pressure out pretty hardcore that Waga doesn't have an answer for. Only 2 points in power shot. Even if Waga gets back up to that top lane, there's really no hope for that tower, and as a result, he doesn't even seem to be making his way there. He's going for the courier. Now he'll be heading up top, but can only do so much in that position.
Just decided to open up there with that Tranquil Boots. I think at this point in time, Wagamama's just going to have to say screw it. I mean, he's got 2 levels of power shot. Once he gets 4th level, can pick up Chakra, I think he's just going to, you know what, let me just go and rotate, try and put some pressure in their lanes, because not much he can do up there by himself. Although that said, his Ancients are finally on blocks. He could go and try and eke out some gold from that, but I think at this point in time, he'd be better off just trying to set up some ganks. Speaking of which, we see a fairly heavily stacked Dire Camp there, as well as it looks like Mini is going to spot up the Panda as it drops down through here, once again trying to jack the creep wave. Really hasn't had much success with manipulating this creep wave with his Spirit Bear there, Blaze.
Yeah, trying. That's been everything that KSI has been microing all about, but unfortunately the bear only has so much hit points to work with, and that's been exploited by Qpad to just bring it down very, very quickly and forcing it out. It's kind of like doing the creep block that you see from Axes and Darkseers, but this time he's just trying to run out with the wave, and it would work perfectly fine if the supports weren't on the ball, but they've been very, very active about trying to bring that down, and even to this point here, they're going to go and just body block and right-click it down with little trouble now that they have 2 points in the Soul Catcher, which guarantees a lot of right-click damage potential. Still letting it go away. They actually didn't put as much pressure as I thought. They're going to block off the creeps, try to actually stop the aggro, but KSI keeps on microing, making sure they keep their focus, keep their attention, and even snagging up a double damage rune for himself. So yeah, in the end, he does get the creep wave. He will get some good experience out of that. Comparing his experience per minute to that of Wagamama's, though, he is still very far behind until this creep wave actually does get dropped down.
Yeah, Wagamama, of course, is dancing back and forth, risking his life a bit more in the end, getting picked off, but it looks like a bit of a smoke gank on mid here. We could have some trouble here for Qpad as a counterattack is coming. Hook shot in is going to land there on top of JRX as now the Dream Core going to come through. The Ethereal Jaw going to come through there. Looks like Power Shot comes through. Going to clean up Wagamama there, though Tame My Wild may fall in return. Gets copped there by another auto attack. Will actually manage to walk away as he won't get taken down after all. Now we've also got Mini throwing out the Carapace. Going to cause some trouble, but that's a 3-for-none trade. Very nicely baited there from
Beautiful.
Qpad.
Beautiful timing. They knew that Sing Sing was just looking for an opportunity, looking for a small window where he can use aggressively that Dream Coil and try to bring down TMW. Instead, he just goes in, says, okay, you can be aggressive all you want, you can jump right on top of me, I'm going to go in, get a hook shot, and then Cogs on 2. Perfect setup for Lena's Light Strike Array, and they had the Bane to follow it up after that. Just really, really great. Now, Bane sits at level 6, and yeah, Lena also has her Laguna Blade, now picking up Arcane Boots. They're going to be able to put out so much pressure here. In the meantime, we do see Gyrocopter destroyed that tier 1 tower top, so with that, in one quick movement, in a matter of seconds, they have turned this around so nicely. Now with the Fiend's Grip available, they can go on Wagamama. They're going to be able to bring him down quickly. Laguna and Dragon Slave, all you need to finish off him. And yeah, now 5-for-1 in favor of Virtus Pro. As along with that tower advantage, we see the gold graph just completely out of control. Qpad has had a 1k advantage, now dropping down below 1500 on the other way around. This is really, really bad for them, and they're going to have to make up for that really, really quickly with the farm that Lifestealer has accrued.
Yeah, of course, Lifestealer is going to have to get stuck in here. I'm just waiting for him to get mobile there with the puck, but it looks like they're actually... it looks like we're going to actually have a hook in there from TMW, going to cause a lot of damage to Mini, trying to get off. The mana burn, they're not really going to help him out a whole lot, as it's just the assault battery is just going to drill him down. TMW just going to stand there trolling him, basically, letting him just get smacked down by that. But I mean, what can you do? You're an under-farmed, under-level support there. I mean, he's only level what? Level 5. Just gets cleaned up very easily by that solo mid clockwork. Just too much damage coming out from him. But it looks like we might have an attempt on his life here. If Sing Sing can take a shot at him, Dream Coil is up. Might actually try and take a crack at TMW. Although we've got the port back in as well. So Blaze, it looks like we might have a counter gank here on mid.
Yeah, going to try to see if there's initiation potential there. As far as high ground vision, the Radiant do see where the Clockwork is at the moment, whereas the Dire are a little bit blindsided, but they still have some good control with this ward to the east. So both teams know kind of what's going on without being able to de-ward the opponents. It means that neither one is going to kind of be caught off guard, which is really, really important for TMW. Engaging on his own terms and knowing the entirety of the situation is going to be exactly what sets him up for high momentum play. I mean, he already, starting off, he's sitting at 1-1-3. He went for this 1v1 build, and that's what he's designed to do, is go for these 1v1 pickups through cogs and battery assault, and doesn't really want to get in the big skirmishes unless he has the backup from his supports.
I really like the fact that he's going for the battery assault first. It does so much damage. It's very, very ridiculous, especially if we can catch someone inside it. And of course, I mean, it's fairly easy for him to catch someone inside it, not only because he's got his own hook to try and catch him out, but of course, Bane, the Nightmare setup, is very, very difficult to avoid. If you step out of line for a second against him, you can find yourself caught out completely by that. Now, I'm just looking at the farm there on Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter has decided to open up there with the Helm of the Dominator. He's also got his phase boots there, saving up cash as well, so we'll see what he goes for first. But it might just be something nice and simple, just some straight raw damage in a moment, but we'll see what he's got in mind. I've got to say that high ground ward there for Clockwork definitely keeping him alive. These counterports coming in here, trying to set up the kills, not really working out, just because he's got that vision. He sees them come in this time round, and he won't get caught out again by that. As it looks like Clockwork is going to pick up that illusion rune there. But I think right now, the fact that Virtus Pro are able to get more mobile with the supports just because they managed to get more farm out there, managed to, more importantly, get those ganks out as well. Really, really paid off for them with the double arcane boots you called out as well. It's just see how Wagamama is so scared. He's really, really worried about getting caught out again.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of moving on about. He's hiding underneath the tier 2, as safe as can be, it would seem, but still very, very dangerous with the fact that this is such an aggressive gank squad. TMW roaming on about could actually get some vision up on Waga to try to bring him down. That would be very scary indeed, but you know, we'll have to see his movement, if he's actually going to be able to get anything off. For now, he's just kind of roaming about trying to find a quick opportunity for a easy kill. Going for the phase boots early, not as tanky as a standard drum plus bracer build, but it allows them to be more aggressive, moving about with the battery assault, higher right click damage, and just finding those picks over and over. So Team W is all about finding those kills, and as a whole, just playing a little bit of distraction strategy while Gyrocopter farms, and of course they have those ancients that he can pick up. It has picked up a little bit already. The Virtus Pro as a whole have cleared out those Dire at least once, the ancients, but he can continue to stack those up with his Dominator creep and do a lot. On mid lane, though, we do see popping off the ultimate. Sing Sing's going to be able to bring down Lina very, very quickly. Mini in a bit of a rough patch, popping off that carapace. Will be able to get on out of here, but TMW almost connecting enough damage with that battery assault, but a beautiful shackle coming on in from Waga will keep him alive here. Now everybody falling back. Illidan, with those face boots, though, just too much right-click damage, will finish it off very, very quickly. And on top of that, Blink Dagger comes up for Sing Sing, and more devastating initiation potential, but for right now, they did trade it 1-for-1. Luckily, down on bottom, they did see yet another kill with the ultimate use from Shadow Demon, purging him up and slowing him down with the open wounds. Druid was not able to escape on out of this one, and Tier 1 will fall.
I really like the fact that the Dire supports are really picking up a lot more farm. Not only are they getting those ganks, getting those kills in, but they're just being given a little bit more farm time, I think, and spending a little bit of less wasted time. Because you see, they look at the farm there right now on Smiles. It looks like he is actually going to pick up a Fiend's Grip here on the Nags. Can I actually follow up, though? Here comes the stun. The Light Striker will manage to land before he can actually, rage on Qpad. And then Laguna Blade as well to finish him off, as well as that sap, that brain sap there. But look at the items there on Bane. He's picked up an Ogre Club as well as the Arcane Boots prior to 15 minutes. That's like, for support, that's like a gold mine for him. And Melina as well, also doing the warding, has managed to pick up the Arcane Boots in a full one. She is definitely feeling quite rich. And you compare that to stuff like Nags. Nags is still looking for his Arcane Boots. He's really struggling to get spammy, to get mobile around the map, just because he runs out of mana so quickly. He can't really spam those spells, get aggressive. He's really just looking for that one really good pick-off. And unfortunately, with these counter wards up, there's just not much he can do to really get stuck in and just pick off anybody with any great ease, especially when some of his targets are stuff like Clockwork, which he really doesn't want to get anywhere near to. We've seen exactly how much damage Clockwork's dished out to him. Oh, long bomb hook as we see Clockwork jump in on Wagamama, who's an easy kill there.
Nice shackle him, though. They're going to try to turn it around here. Coming in, Sing Sing with a big ultimate. The waiting grip going across. Clock will fall. Illidan probably with him. Tries to TP out, but too much damage coming through with the power shot to connect. They finish him off quickly with Puck ending his killing spree, getting some nice cash flow. And yeah, they did end up popping the buyback on Waga to try to get back on in it. So really inhibiting Windrunner from picking up an early mech, but still finding a lot of potential with that counter gank turning around on two very core heroes.
I think that is exactly what they need. Qpad really needed that badly, just because obviously they just had their lifestealer picked off, getting a counter gank there on the Gyrocopter. Granted, he did just get the kill off on the Windrunner, but though they got the gank there off on the Windrunner, but at the same time, it's something they sorely wanted. I should also mention that the Spirit Bear there is starting to get a little bit fun. They managed to get the boots up as well. Lone Druid's starting to pick up his own cash, well, has his own boots, so he's getting there. And this is it. I mean, towards the late game, I'm a little bit worried there for Qpad, just because, I mean, the longer this goes, I think the worse it's just going to get, just because they have the Gyrocopter plus the Lone Druid. And as good as the Nates can be, I just don't think he can handle both of them at once.
Two TBs coming on in, though. He used the Fiend's Grip, so not taking too much magic damage, and still perfectly fine. Has the armlet, wants to turn things around with his supports coming in. Open wounds up on KSI. They will Demonic Purge him as well, trying to bring him down, and they need perfect Light Strike rays to actually pull him out. No too much damage from Soul Catcher, and Sing Sing's cleaning up even further. Doesn't have Dream Coil, but the right clicks, the orb is there. Call down, gonna pull back a little bit. They are gonna go for the hook shot and connect. TMW on top of Jarex here, doing so much damage. Battery Assault will get one return kill. Looking for more here. Oh, big Vendetta coming out from Mini, bursting down Smile, but he's still doing all right. The stand-in going in, right-clicking down on NS, not finding a kill yet, though, and instead it's going to be Gyrocopter, who almost brings down Mini, but instead a double Impale comes out from the Nyx. Now Dream Coil in place. Illidan wants to find so many kills, but not getting anything out of this. Flat Cannon going across, doing a lot of damage, but too much is received, and he does drop. Meanwhile, Sing Sing barely able to survive. His phase shift was on cooldown for the Flat Cannon, but he lives with 23 HP anyways. They do end up losing the Nyx, but they pick off the Gyrocopter in turn, and that is certainly a favorable trade for Qpad.
Oh yes, Qpad really badly, and he got what they wanted, and it looks like KSI's gone, screw this. He's just decided to jump into his own jungle and catch up on his farm there. Finally says, you know what, that bottom lane is just too damn troublesome. Has managed to finally polish off his ancient stack, though. This Windrunner now, definitely, I mean, that gank, that series of ganks here right now, she's pretty much almost managed to pick up the mech. She'll have that fairly shortly, and it's exactly what Qpanda needs quite badly. Especially, I mean, you consider like how mobile Puck is at the moment. He's also got his Blink Dagger. Puck, I think, is going to be the driving force behind Qpanda now. It's really what's going to keep him in the game, and now especially since he can blink and just set up a Lifestealer with a Dream, like he can set up those Dream Call and Infestations very easily now, and this is something Virtus Pro are going to have to watch out for. This is definitely going to give Qpanda a lot of threat value, so it looks like they may actually just pick off Banshee once again with another Fiend's Grip there.
Yeah, really a good movement to be able to bring that down and just find the opportunity. So they pick off the Lifestealer, but they also pick up on top the Clockwork. So kind of back and forth. They're just using their abilities very effectively. The ultimate's committed every single time, but they are finding the kills back and forth. Obviously, the Lifestealer, much more important kill than that of the Clockwork, though, and now that does enable them to breach this Tier 1 tower. And as the towers fall, the gold just swings back and forth. Virtus Pro is still behind because of how many kills they've lost in the past few minutes, but if they are kind of bouncing back, getting kills, pickoffs like that on Lifestealer, unfortunately not capitalizing on it, as we see the Tier 1 tower up top taking a lot more damage than that on the bottom, and unfortunately not finding the opportunity to Nightmare up to try to clean up the remainder. It is actually going to be the Tier 1 to drop. Fortification pop, but that siege creep, the range creep's doing so much damage either way in the mid. KSI doing so much here, just with phase boots alone. Still doesn't have Armlet or Maelstrom, and just kind of doing his little thing up in the mid lane, getting plenty of opportunities. So as a result, 2 Tier 1s drop in exchange for 1 single one. But the gold is certainly going back towards Virtus Pro, and that's a really big deal. They have some very item-reliant heroes. The Clockwork certainly needs some tank. The Bane would love some mobility, and most importantly, Illidan needs that right-click damage to make things work, along with the Lone Druid, who is also a very item-reliant carry. So getting the stun off, they're going to be able to bring down NS here. Call down does come on through, though, and the Nightmare keeping NS up for now. The power shot not doing enough damage. Defensive Disruption will just kind of say, Waga, you get dropped down, and we'll be able to fall back from here. Go let the Entangle proc says, otherwise he has to rage on out of it, or Venom still providing some slowing impact. Will there be another Entangle? Yes! Oh my gosh, this bare luck going on through. They force out the Infest. Just Root Gaming Dota taking its toll here, as Banshee has to pop off multiple cooldowns just to escape, but at least it didn't cost him too much in the end. And we do see kind of pursuing on through Jarex, taking a lot of damage, potentially, if we can just close the distance here with a Battery Assault or Cogs, but there is going to be Sing Sing's Orb flying on through, and yeah, they're not going to connect with the Cogs, just forcing them back from here, so Shadow Demon survives, and they all fall back. The missile is going to be completely destroyed, and Jerax will be able to get out safely. Instead, Banshee's the one on the front side of things, and initiation from Sing Sing, they get the Dream Coil off on TMW, and he's going to be bursted down in the duration of a short stun. And now they have the full potential. You can see the arrow on the map. They're going for the tier 1 in mid, and they have every right to do so with that kind of a kill.
I think Virtus Pro, they got a bit overconfident. They really didn't need to dive quite that deep in enemy territory, especially since they don't have much vision that far, and most of their vision is relegated to the bottom lane there. That said, I've got to say some beautiful plays in the bottom lane from Lina as well as the Bane. Some really, really good work coming out of Virtus Pro support all game so far. An absolute fantastic Nightmare save there from Bane earlier. But it looks like, I appear to be lagging. Crap.
That's not good.
Oh, wait, no, it's not just me. All right, you too.
Alright, so I'm having no latency. I'm going into this fight here. BKB popped off, Flat Cannon, and there's going to be the Phoenix Grip coming out. Banshee bursting him down hardcore. He will be dropped very, very quickly. So that was really, really good timing for them, but they did lose the tier 1. Lifesteal was able to get the last hit on that, trading it for the life, but looks like Triumph's doing alright. We have the Roshan being the next target of choice, and they have every opportunity to take it here because of the fact that the Dream Coil is currently on cooldown 15 full seconds before they're afraid of any AoE initiation. Instead, they're just going to be able to bring this down in short time and most likely provide the Aegis to Illidan, who can then play as aggressively as he would want to, dropping the Flat Cannon and Call Down up on kind of the front line of the fight, right just behind the Clockwork.
No, speaking of Illidan, yes, he is looking very scary at this point in time. Look at that damage. He's got the Demon's Edge as well as the BKB. He's going to be very difficult to try and pin down and deal with in these fights. But we'll see what Virtus Pro have in mind here. That's it. I mean, we've seen exactly how nasty Qpad can be in the middle of these fights, and especially since it looks like Lifestealer will be picking up a Basher fairly shortly as well. So, I mean, that can definitely lock down the Gyrocopter even through his BKB. So if Puck can get in there with a good silence, good setup there, and just basically pin the Gyrocopter down for Lifestealer to get to work on. Because of course he does have his rage, can rage right through any kind of counter nukes that Virtus Pro have, as long as they can keep the Fiend's Grip off him. That's going to be the big thing. Force Staff will soon be picked up for TMW. He's going to try to use that for a little bit more utility. Jumping on in, he wants to just get the best hook shot possible on as many targets as possible, cog them all in, and trap them in a single position, then Force Staff away himself so that he's under no threat. You're going to target primarily the Lifestealer, but honestly, getting any two heroes will be a great potential disable because most of these heroes are relatively short range. I mean, the Windrunner and Shadow Demon have some decent range spells, but the Nyx is very, very up close and personal with his Vendetta, with his stuns. It's just he needs to be actually in the right position, and Clockwork's job is just to completely prevent that. I mean, a Blink Dagger coming up on Nyx most likely will allow him to be a little bit more active, but at least for the moment, Clockwork is going to be kind of the one who decides the positioning of the fight and area denial with those cogs. So we're seeing right now the tier 2 drop quickly, using that power of the Lone Druid to just right-click down with that Demolish, and he'll be having his Skull Basher in just a short while himself. So yeah, it really comes down to the positioning, the timing, because right now Illidan and KSI together, the damage to disable is there, and TMW just has to initiate to set things up. Yeah, I think that Blink Dagger is definitely going to be crucial, just because he can make sure they can hold the Nyx back. Of course, like I said, they can set things up with the Puck and the Nyx together, hold the Nyx back, wait for Bane to reveal himself, and then just have Nyx jump all over Bane and make sure he doesn't try and shut down that Lifestealer, as it looks like Virtus Pro are still making motions to try and continue to put pressure on the bottom lane there. A lot of pinging and back and forth there, although it looks like both teams have observer wards down in this bottom jungle, so they'll be able to see exactly what's going on. That said, Virtus Pro, they do have Lina as well as Clockwork set up the mid. I think they were hoping someone would jump in this mid lane and try and farm it so they could try and pick up an easy kill. Of course, Lina does have that Laguna Blade ready to go, and it is level 2, so it can do a ferocious amount of damage. Also like the fact Lina has picked up a Ghost Scepter. That will definitely help keep the Lifestealer off her case.
Exactly. I mean, he's going to pop off his Vendetta here. Quick pause coming on through. This is only a rank 1 Vendetta, duration of 20 seconds, not the most burst damage, but going to try to close in, specifically on NS, I believe. I mean, he has that Ghost Scepter, but if you can catch him off guard and stun him and still get a couple right clicks on in, Puck and Nyx together can just use their abilities, completely take her 100-0, and that's a big loss. Not being able to Light Circle Ray, Fish in a Barrel on either the Nightmare or the Cogs, or getting the big Laguna Blade off, which is at a rank 2 ultimate, that will be very, very impactful. But has to be cautious. I mean, there is a sentry ward up for the Radiant in the mid, but Lina has one in her pocket as well, and could be allowing them to counter-initiate if Clockwork has a well-timed hookshot. Either way, at this stage, the big thing to keep in mind is how important Puck's gold is. Sing Sing is sitting so close to that Scythe of Ice, he can almost taste it, but is not going to be ready for this next engagement, seeing as a Vendetta was popped. They want to go now, and so if Sing Sing dies without getting much as far as kills go, that's going to delay a very, very big item pickup.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I said, that mobility is going to be key. There as they blink in, they go for it. Lina gets obliterated. Oh, no chance. Oh, Puck now, he's phase shifted. Can he get away?
Fiend's Grip.
He will get Fiend's Grip, and there you go. You called it, Blaze.
Yeah, it's exactly. You have to get in, you have to get out, and not finding the assist, but not getting out alive is going to be very problematic for his level setup. We do see Team W inside his own cogs taking a lot of damage right here. Will force Staff up to the high ground though, and I think he'll be all right. Either way, trying to put some damage in this tier 2. There's going to be a buyback coming on in. Puck, Sing Sing has his Dream Coil. It's going to be amazing. Dream Coil coming out onto 2 heroes. Gets a big phase shift. The orb comes on out. Aegis pop. The bear locked down. Now going in. Bane is still alive. Brain Sap's up to bring himself up to pretty high HP values, but a nice little bash proc coming in, and that should be enough to seal off Bane. Oh, Magic Wand to keep him alive. Still on the run. They get the right clicks. They get the orb to finish it out here. Illidan almost by himself. The bear just now being able to right click. And instead, Illidan getting slowed down hardcore. The call down to try to keep him up, but the stun connects, and he will fall in turn. Now Waga being pursued by this mean Spirit Bear, but just going to be recalled back as KSI tries to get himself out. Gets entangled on Lifestealer, almost out of dodge, but no. Too much damage from the Infest, as well as some great spell usage from Sing Sing. And they just completely turned this fight around. Yes, it cost him buyback. Yes, he's no further ahead in gold than when he started. But equaling out and setting up his team to take so much gold, so much experience, possibly even another objective like the tier 2. Oh my goodness, Qpanda's in a great spot right here.
Yeah, unfortunately, Virtus Pro just did not react quickly enough to that buyback from Puck. Just caused absolute carnage there with that Dream Coil. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you've got to watch out for, because, I mean, imagine that Dream Coil and then throw Lifesteal into the middle of that. It's just so much. Whoa! Again, another long-range hook there. Going to set up JRX. Easy kill there. We'll pick him off, as it looks like. I mean, that's not a big deal, though. Of course, it is just a Shadow Demon, not a huge priority target there. But at the same time, Tamo probably quite happy about that quick little kill. But like I was saying, I mean, Lifesteal, I mean, you let Lifesteal in the loose in the middle of a whole bunch of Dream Coil heroes like that, he is just going to completely shred them. So I think Virtus Pro, they just don't have that initiative. Like they've got the firepower between the Lone Druid and the Gyrocopter. Obviously has picked up his Monkey King bar, but I think the Qpanda, they had the mobility and the initiation bar. It's going to be very difficult for Virtus Pro, I think, to basically contend with that. Sure, Clockwork's nice and all with the hook, but it's definitely not as instantaneous nor as position. Like, he's really reliant on positioning of enemy heroes, his own creep wave, that sort of business. Whereas Puck, if he sees people just sort of step out of line for a second, he can just jump them and just completely shred them. Same for even Nyx Assassin with the blink. He can just set up the fight very easily by just blinking in and stunning someone and baiting in the
big
fight.
Shackle initiation to start off. Demonic Purge comes out, and there is Banshee doing so much damage. Sing Sing jumping on in, trying to do work here, but there is going to be the Fiend's Grip on the Lifesteal, and he can't get the sounds off. There's a BKB on ars-art, and they turn this around beautifully, getting the kill on the Lifesteal, possibly even on the Shadow Demon. Jarek's on the run, but 2 right clicks will seal his fate as well, and they clean it up on the Windrunner as well, taking the tier 2, moving in for the high ground. Perfect opportunity for them. Buybacks that we already saw. Of course, Sing Sing doesn't have his using it in a previous engagement, but the heroes that are deceased, only Lifestealer is able to jump back on into this one here, so they're going to go for the high ground, and my goodness, that was such a clutch BKB timing for ars-art. Didn't have it until this exact fight, and that's when he needed the most. Dodging out Sing Sing silence, but now speaking of, he jumps on in, he does a little bit of harassment, Mini popping off the Vendetta, but I'm not sure if it's enough to save the tower. The hero's still respawning slowly. Lifesteal comes back on in. They almost have fortification off cooldown. There's the stun for Mini. Hits on 2, but getting bursted down in turn. Nice Carapace keeping him alive a little bit longer, but they can't finish the job. Brain Sap brings him down, and now Team W is going to get finished off by Sing Sing. Nightmare, nice attempt, but ars-art a little bit too slow on the draw, and it does mean that he gets dropped down. Now coming on in, Lifestealer will be able to dodge out the entire cooldown, no slow, and that means he can close the distance with a bit of power shot vision to try to finish off NS here. Yeah, he goes Scepters, but it's delaying the inevitable here with a nice Light Strike array. He's going to kind of chase him into the trees, but getting counter juke here, Sing Sing will be able to clean it up. Either way, that does lead them on a merry chase, which allows the other 3 to escape on out. But unfortunately, they didn't get the racks that they were looking for. They took the tier 3, the fortification still up and available for Qpandas, but kind of back and forth. They force out the Lifestealer. And how do you feel about that engagement? Who do you feel comes out more on top?
I'm gonna say I think Virtus Pro are definitely ahead now because of that BKB on the Bane. Remember how I said that that pick off on Shadow Demon really didn't matter that much?
Hmm.
Well, because Bane picked up at that exact fight, picked up that BKB, I was completely wrong because it came down to the fact that they needed that Shadow Demon to defensively disrupt the Lifestealer to keep him alive, because that's just it. As soon as Qpad lose that Lifestealer, Puck, although he could set up a hell of a fight, there's just no follow-up damage. If Lifestealer's down, they just do not have that follow-up firepower, so they've got to have him up. And because now Bane is completely immune to their disables, I think, actually, I think Dreamcore can possibly bust it, but if you can't get that Dreamcore down to disrupt it, then basically Lifestealer is going to be completely neutralized with the Fiend Script. So they really, really need to have the Shadow Demon there and alive to disrupt him and to get him out of trouble.
Yep. Absolutely, that's pretty essentially it. The Shadow Demon defensive disruption is the only thing that can be done, and unfortunately, if he's raged up, which is the time the Lifestealer wants to try to be tanking up the most damage and not having to worry about disables, he rages, the Fiend's Grip will pierce on through that rage, and as I understand, the disruption should not, so that might be a limiting factor for them as well. The timing of that and those abilities, trying to keep him up and fighting, actually might be counterintuitive if the rage is ill-timed. Either way, Illusion running around, trying to scare off the Druid Bear, but they're going to go in, try to force the high ground here. What do you think about their chances in this?
I think this is definitely problematic here. It depends on the initiate. If they can get the Bane down, they need to neutralize that Bane, or at the very least keep him away from Lifesteal. It's going to come down to whether or not they can manage it. And Bane, you see, very wisely hanging all the way back, does not want to get jumped. They've got the other heroes up here up the front to make sure they take the brunt of the fight and don't get him picked off. So it's going to come down a lot to positioning here and whether or not they can find that pick. Qpad, of course, they have the mobility, but at the same time, Bane, it's nighttime now, very hard to spot him out. He's got that ability just to hang back and make sure he stays
BKB comes out at the perfect time. Shackle Shot will not connect, and they're just going to go for the racks here in this short duration BKB, but unfortunately, based on the fact that Sing Sing has Scythe, they're not confident in actually right-clicking. The second that BKB expires, the Jargod was very vulnerable. Shackle will not connect, so they will be able to fall back, but they popped off, I think, a 7-second BKB. No, actually, it was their last charge, their 6-second BKB, now down to 5 permanently, and they only get a few pings off in the racks.
And the rack's starting to heal up, so it didn't really work out for them. The question is whether or not they might drop by the Rosh in a second there. It is almost up. We'll be up in about 60 seconds. But that said, neither team really has a lot of vision around this pit, so they may be a little bit worried. It looks like the Radiant are making motions to take the tier 2. And there we go. See this initiation value here from Puck. He's got the lifesteal. He's got a friend inside him, ready to jump out, and they're going to try and get this pick off, and they may be able to drive for a tier 2, tier 3 even if they get a good pick off here, as it looks like they're going to run head first into Virtus Pro. This will be a messy, messy fight. They realize something's there. As the smoke wears off, there we go, the Infest, the cooldown comes out, the stuns are out as well. Can they pick off as we get the Fiend's Grip down? BKB, this is a problem here for Qpad, and it looks like they're going to lose their Nakes, and actually going to lose Sing Sing in just a second. Nakes also dropping rapidly.
The Gyrocopter does fall. He was one of the few heroes that they actually could kill. They focused so much on him, and the Satanic's not up yet, so they did bring him down, but they lost so much for it. Waga might not even get out. Has to pop out the wind run as soon as possible to try to get out. I'm not sure why he hasn't already, but yeah, he will be able to flee on out there and use the Force Staff. I think he's home free, but everybody else just dropped down so easily. Even the Clockwork finishing off the Puck in the trees here. I guess a Rocket Flare was the main thing to finish him off there on such low life, but now they've taken it 4 for 1, and although they can't Rosh without the, or they won't be as quick about Roshing without the Gyrocopter, they're still happy to do so with the large respawn time on Lifestealer and the Puck.
Yeah, I mean, like they said, they managed to initiate on the Gyrocopter, managed to burst him down fairly quick. The problem is, they got rid of the Gyrocopter, but they had essentially traded that for Puck as well as a Lifestealer, and then they've got the Lone Druid, which, unfortunately, you've got an underfarmed Nyx, you've got Windrunner really did not get squat done in the early game, and then a hard support Shadow Demon. There's just no way for them to finish off Lone Druid and deal with a Spirit Bearer at the same time, so unfortunately that's what it came down to there. Just as we go on, basically the two sort of late game-ish heroes. Obviously the Lone Druid isn't as awesome as the Gyrocopter, but it is sort of a 2v1 there with the Lifestealer. Not really able to handle both at the same time, especially with the bash from the Bearer as well, able to lock him down even through his rage. It is going to become a bit of an issue.
So this is kind of breaking down to a very, very interesting game here. I mean, of course, the Aegis Immortal on KSI allows the Bear to be that much of a continuous threat throughout the fight, and essentially they have 2 Bear summons and they have 2 Lone Druids. So guaranteed, you will be seeing this Bear tanking up through that whole 5200 HP and have to burn him down, and he has a ton of armor when it comes down to that battle cry being up, so it's a lot to deal with as the Bear just continues to right click down. Has probably an Assault Cross coming out shortly. Yeah, he's definitely working his way that direction. But for right now, just bashes and tangles on up, and it's going to be a continuous factor, whereas the Gyrocopter, focusing on trying to buy out that Satanic. He actually could still stay for buyback if he wants to, but generally speaking, when you can get such a great defensive item as Satanic, you might as well just go all in for it. You won't have that second life through buyback, but you have the second life through the Satanic's amazing healing potential, so it can be that effective anyways, and we do see that coming out on the Courier now. So Illidan is going to be monstrous, and it's going to be 100% on Qpandas to make this team fight work in their favor with hardcore initiation. As we saw the last one, they had the right intentions, but the timing of it and the turnaround from Virtus Pro, just they are very, very far behind, and they have to make perfect moves to actually come out on top in a 5v5.
Now, unfortunately, that last fight was a little bit messy because what happened was obviously the smoke wore off. They realized somebody is close and they knew it must be in the fog. So Puck blinked forwards, didn't really get the perfect initiation off, and they got a little bit choked up trying to get through that staircase up there onto the high ground. So it wasn't perfect. Puck didn't get the jump that he really, really wanted to get, nor did Nyx really get the angle that he wanted either. But they figured, you know what, we've been spotted, might as well go for it in the end. Didn't work out the best. But now I'm just looking at the lifesteal. It does have 3,000 gold. It looks like he's working towards that Abyssal Blade Blaze.
Yeah, I believe so. That would probably be the best course of action. I'm not sure if he wants to use his full gold, though. They're playing defensively, and buybacks are most important when you're right next to your base, and you can either TP in or just run onto the front lines very, very quickly. So I think he's going to save for it right now, but doesn't really have too much time to think about it. We do see the Soul Catcher come out on the Bear, just mauling away at those racks, but they do have that second resummon up and available. Are going to be forced to use it here. 100 gold going the way of Shadow Demon, and so KSI will be popping off that second Bear here. Other than that, though, they are kind of biding their time, waiting for the perfect opportunity. They have the Aegis still up in the Lone Druid, and that's the timing window. They still have that full another 4 minutes or so to make sure they can make use of that. Shackle does come out on Gyrocopter, but unfortunately they're so far outside the base, they can't capitalize on it. He's just too tanky, and there would be too much damage forthcoming. So Flat Cannon comes out through, Sing Sing jumping on in with that Infest. Snake Spawn burned down the Bane immediately. No Fiend's Grip coming in and now, right-clicking down hardcore on top of Illidan here. There is a nice Dream Coil coming through, but unfortunately Lifesteal is going to get dropped down, has to buy back immediately to actually make this fight anything but a disaster for them. Sing Sing is going to be able to bring down the Lina, and still the Shadow Demon is dropped down in turn. Sing Sing in a bad spot here, isn't able to phase blink away, instead just gets dropped. Immediate buyback from the two. There's going to be the Pug, the Lifestealer coming back on into it. There's the Blink Initiation, stun comes out for Mini, trying to bring somebody down here, and now Sing Sing is up in the action, but unfortunately there is no Shackle Shot to connect, just the Mini stun, and now they have nothing to prevent them from escaping on out. This Piglet does a little bit here, but they need Lifesteal to get on the front line. There's that Force Staff to bring him on in, but the slow from the Bear activating, and the Battle Cry right-click damage. KSI taking a lot of hits here, but he still has that Aegis, and even if he gets dropped down, it's not the end of the world. Instead, Lifesteal getting mauled on. The Bash comes on through. He's trying to feast away on the Lone Druid, but it's not enough damage, and he gets dropped. Mini barely escaping out with his life. Same thing with Waga, and as a result, Virtus Pro fighting out in the jungle, in the trees. That's where Qpandas is not coming out on top, and instead, we see that they've bought back over and over and over again. They're losing the racks, and they might have just lost this game. I mean, Sing Sing initiating, bringing down the Lone Druid, but the Bear remains. The Druid will come back on up, and they're not out of the woods yet.
As we see the hook in there, it looks like Jarex will get picked up. As it looks like they are going to get drilled down fairly quick there. We go Puck also in a fair amount of trouble. I'm going to say those last two engagements, MVP of those fights, the Bear. That's what won them the fight, just because Lifestealer got hammered by it. He got bashed so many times. And during the first fight where we saw Puck use his mobility to help Lifestealer completely obliterate Bane, it looked like it was going to go well for Qpad for a sec. But what happened was the Bear got a couple of bashes off. Then Clockwork followed up with a cog push. And despite the fact that Lifestealer was, raged up and ready to go, he just got pushed around. Just could not get his right clicks down, just couldn't get that lifesteal flowing, and in the end, it just allowed room for Illidan just to chew through him there with his damage. Just no way from the... And then, of course, you saw him fighting the Bear. It looked like it was going good. And then just again, a whole bunch more bashes, cogs thrown in again, and just damn, that was it. That was it for Lifesteal. Just could not get the damage down. Just so vulnerable to those bashes and disables that were going through his basically going through his magic immunity.
Absolutely. And now we do see just 14,000 gold and experience advantage for Virtus Pro in the end result of that. And that's just a gold earn. That's not counting how many friggin' buybacks were spent out from Qpad, just desperately trying to stay in the game. But unfortunately, that meant that Lifestealer wasn't finding those big items. That Abyssal, don't even think about it. Not an option. They have the Drum, the Basher, and the Armlet as the only core items on their number one that they didn't have a fallback for. He was the one that everything was riding on. And unfortunately, he got outfarmed by both enemy carries. So Gyrocopter doing too much work. Satanic keeps them up and at him. And despite only a 5-second BKB, they didn't have the lockdown they needed. So in the end, Gyrocopter carries his team to victory, and as a whole, the supports played really, really well. Bane, a couple times over, screwed over the lifesteal with the Fiend's Grip, just playing that hero to a T. And as a whole, I just gotta say, Virtus Pro certainly deserved this win. Their movement, their timing, their team fights, everything just screamed advantage for Virtus Pro. And although Qpad got a few good punches in, Virtus Pro takes it away, and as it's a best of one, they're going to be advancing on into the finals, which we will be seeing later this evening as we go into the bottom half of our single elimination bracket here. Do you have any other thoughts on the game as a whole?
I definitely like you said, those supports for Virtus Pro, big deal. Getting them that early farm, a huge deal. That Bane didn't have that early BKB. This game could have been so different. I'm not even joking. It could have been. I mean, Qpad rather. About to call them Mouse Boss because of Sing Sing, but Qpad could have definitely been their game had Bane not had that ability to magic immunity up and just control those fights and just completely mess up Lifestealer.
Indeed. So, moving on forward, thank you guys so much for tuning on into the Premier League Season 5. This is our first day trying out this new cup format. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Also, the commentary. If you guys enjoy it, I myself am Blaze. You can check me out at twitter.com/blazecasting, also under Twitch and YouTube under the same extensions. And for you, Triumph?
You can find me, Triumph Man, on Twitter. That's about it at the moment. That's all I'm really keeping updated.
Sure enough, man. Well, we'll be seeing more of you and the teams in general. We're going to see later on going into... Actually, I'm not sure what our next match is, to be honest with you. I'll have to look it up.
Let me bring it. Our next match